EJA, the Environmental or the Equal Access to Justice Act. It is very difficult to find out how much money we have paid from that fund. As you know, it is an act that it is set up with the best of intentions, help pay for attorneys when they bring lawsuits and prevail. How is that handled by your department? Who pays it? Is it the Justice Fund? Is it your department? If they have a lawsuit and end up paying attorney's fees, is there any way to get an accounting of government-wide how much we are paying into this fund? As you know, there are organizations, probably organizations on both sides of issues, that almost look at this as a way of funding their organization. Is there any accounting? Is there any way of determining who assesses the fees that are being charged and so forth? Can we get that information? From what I understand, originally when it started off, there was an accounting of that, and the public actually had access to it, and then it just kind of disappeared and has been nobody knows.
Congressman Simpson, that matter really is something which comes from the Department of Justice, because that's where the judgment fund is.
Is that who pays it?
It comes out of the judgment fund. For example, in the Cobell litigation that we've been involved in, the money that ultimately would pay for the attorney's fees and in fact for the settlement is money that comes out from the settlement fund. So I think it's that's a question which I would be happy to raise with the Attorney General.
If someone sues the BLM over a grazing permit and goes through all the court procedures and a settlement is made, BLM doesn't end up paying the EJA fees for that plaintiff. It is the Justice Fund, huh?
I believe that to be the case, Congressman Simpson, but I will check further on that and get a more specific answer back to you, or perhaps this is something that Pam Hayes might know something about.
And I'm not trying to ask this in a way that says it's not justified or anything else. I just like to know how much we're paying and if we appropriate money for it or whatever. But if you could get back to us on that, I would appreciate it.
Let me just ask Pam, since she apparently knows the answer, to just provide the answer.
My understanding is that the Department of Justice pays it, and they have an accounting, and we are supposed to, over time, reimburse those costs.
Through appropriated dollars.
Through whatever
means you can.
Appropriate. If it was a mandatory account where the action was related to, that way.
So essentially, the department pays for those, one way or another, in the long run.
I think it's fair to say many of the departments have not been keeping up with all of the reimbursements.
Because we have not been able to find an accounting of who's getting these fees and how much they're being paid. I'd sure like to find out, but anyway, I'll follow up with you on that and see if we can.
I think it's an important question, and let us get some information back to you that
I appreciate it.
Will be responsive to your question.
I appreciate it. Last year we appropriated $1 million to address the backlog in grazing permits. This year OMB and the department left that out. What are we doing to address the backlog in the grazing permits and trying to get that up to speed so that we don't have the problems we do with the grazing going on in across the country?
Director Abbey has been very involved in addressing this issue. As I don't know whether he's testified before the committee yet, but he was director and working at the BLM for about 30 years, director in Nevada, and he's aware of the grazing fee permit backlog, and I know that he is working on it. According to Pam's good notes here, at the end of 2009, there were 4,326 grazing permits that were backlogged, and about 90% of 18,000 permit. Let me just say, we're working on it. Is basically what I'll say.
We appropriated money last year to work on it. That money's not proposed in your budget. Added on top of that, $109 million throughout the department in fixed costs that have to be absorbed by the department somewhere, assuming, as I said during, I think it was the hearing at the BLM, that you don't hire people just to drink coffee, there is going to be something that doesn't get done. There are going to be fewer people to do something, to do some activities than other things. How are we going to address the backlog in that arena and others if we have reduced personnel and so forth in the future?